The joys of canning coming up right after this. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to the show. Today we're talking about canning. You know, I love to grow food, I love to preserve food, and of course I love to eat it. Working on a great old family recipe here that is so simple. We'll get to it a little bit later in the show. We're also going to discuss a few safety tips and what equipment you may need to use when canning. Plus I'll show you how to prepare this delicious orange marmalade that we're going to use on this scrumptious cake. And I'll also show you how to decorate with these cute clementines. As you can see, we've got a lot in store for you in today's show. So why don't we get started by taking a look at some basics where we look at equipment and safety tips.
Today we're going to be looking at some of the basics you need for home canning, that is beyond your food product. First, we want to start with your jars. When doing home canning, there are basically 3 jars that you want to use: a quart-sized jar, a pint-sized jar, and a jelly jar. The jars that you use, you want to be sure that they are not something that you have used before. For instance, this one looks fine for canning, but it's actually a mayonnaise jar, and so you don't want to use this again. It may not withstand the pressures of home canning. Also important are your lids. And you don't want to use your lids more than once. This will ensure that you have proper sealing each and every time that you can and ensure a safe food product for you and others in your home. Lids can be reused again, but if they are rusted, as this one is, you don't want to use it again. Be sure that it's clean and rust-free, such as this one. There are 2 basic types of canning, using a water bath canner and a pressure canner. You're going to place the jars in here in your water bath canner, and there's going to be a rack in there. That's going to ensure that there's water boiling beneath and circulating in order for proper processing, and also at least an inch on top. After you have your jars in and everything's been processed, some more basic equipment that you need would include this, because the jars are going to be hot. So of course you don't want to touch them. So you're going to pull them out like so and allow them time to cool and to process. Another method for canning is your pressure canner. The pressure canner is used in canning vegetables, meats, and poultry. These are low acid foods, and so the pressure canner is used at 240 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. That's going to ensure that all those bacteria are killed and ensure a safe food product for you and your family.
One of the things I learned from one of my favorite aunts, Aunt Virginia, is how to make sauerkraut. She makes the best, and it's so easy to make, and with so few ingredients. Some sugar, vinegar, water, salt, and of course cabbage. And what you want to start out with are some nice cabbage heads about this size. And all I'm doing is I'm shearing or chopping the cabbage up to really sort of a slaw-like consistency, and you just pack it in jars like this. So I'm taking these quart jars and I'm just putting the cabbage in there. You know, we grow a lot of cabbage here at the farm. It's a beautiful cool weather season plant. We grow different varieties because they come off at different times, and the cabbage heads are of different sizes. But one I like to grow for ornamental purposes is red cabbage. Now what I'm doing here is I'm packing the cabbage down in the jars. You want to pack it in just as much as you can. As you can see, I've got it just about packed in. I think I can add a little more there. What you don't want is the cabbage to touch the top of the jar lid. So I'm just getting it down to about that point. Just about got it all packed down in there. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so I've got 4 quarts already started. And what you need to think about here is it takes about 1 head of cabbage to do 3 quarts. Just think about that. And what you do now is really add 3 basic ingredients, and it's just 1 teaspoon per ingredient. So you want 1 teaspoon of sugar in each one of these. And you set it right on the top, just like that. And then you want 1 teaspoon of salt. And this is canning salt. It's a little coarser. And then 1 teaspoon of vinegar. That puts the sour in sauerkraut. That one was a little shy. There we go. All right. That vinegar smells good. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just fill it, ladle boiling water into each one of the jars, and I'm just going to fill it up just to the neck. You can see that hot water is carrying the sugar and the vinegar and the salt all the way down. Just there we go. Again, just right up to the neck. Okay, so we've got the water in there. Kraut is already cooking, and now it's just a matter of placing the lids on all of these quart jars, just like this. You want to tighten them down. So look at that, isn't that beautiful? Now this is where the art of canning comes in. My Aunt Genny is finished at this point. She just stores her cabbage, or now sauerkraut, in a cool, dark place and just lets it sit there, and it's ready to eat in about a month. Now you can also drop it in a hot water bath, and I've done that here. You can put it in boiling water for about 20 minutes and lift it out and then store it in a cool, dark place. Either way, you want to make sure that the lids pop. You'll hear them pop when it's sealed. And if you get any discoloration at all, those you should never eat. But this is a really easy sauerkraut recipe. And what's so wonderful about this, it's delicious cooked with pork, also with apples. It's a wonderful addition to the pantry for those fall and winter meals. I just can't believe how many blackberries these vines are producing. When we planted these a couple of years ago, I really had no idea they were going to be this bountiful. This variety is called Ouachita. It's an American Indian series of blackberry varieties that was produced in the late 1980s by the University of Arkansas. And there's some outstanding varieties in this series. Once they started growing, it was time to start thinking about what kind of support we were going to give them. So later in that year, in the summer, we set posts along the rows and then ran 3 wires so that we could weave the vines of the blackberries in through them to keep them off the ground. And you can see it's working very well. Now we planted several different varieties, not just this thornless Ouachita. We also planted Arapaho and one called Chickasaw that does have thorns. Now I wish we'd planted some of the other tribes out here in the garden. Now realize you don't have to plant this many blackberries to be able to enjoy them in your home garden. With this much fruit production on just a few vines, well, you can see how many berries you can produce in a limited space.
When you first plant your plants, the first year you will not get no berries off there, and very seldom you might have a few blooms off the vines, but you will not pick very many, so don't discourage about that. The second year, some of these right here are this new growth. This is what you'll pick on next year, these are you should at least get in the first year, say 3-foot growth. And some of these, like these, won't be upright. First year, most of your blackberries will be more of a vine type, raised to your side. After the first year, the second year, when they first start coming up, they'll come up like this right here and like here. We've had them get as big as your thumbs, come straight up, and you know, grow up to, like we talked about earlier, 7-8 foot tall. But like I say, we recommend you pinch the tops of them out when they get 5-6 feet like that. They'll make new growth, come out wide, and like we said earlier, there be more berries on it. When you start to prune them, you can tell the difference by the brown canes compared to the green canes. The green canes are what you'll pick on next year, and the brown ones are what you will cut out. And when you go down here close to the ground, you need to cut them as low as the ground as possible. And the brown ones are what you prune out, and these are what you will leave. This vine here is a new growth from this spring, came up in the springtime, and to get more lateral growth on them, we pinched this top out, take about an inch or inch and a half, and just pinch it out like that, and that'll make new growth come down the side of the vines, which we feel will give you more berries. Keep your rows nice and neat and pull these back. We just run a simple trellising of twine down through here, and we'll just take these and put them back up underneath your string. Also at the same time, that's when you can start pinching them, but that keeps them back out of your way where you can access the berries easily. It's just a lot easier to take care of your plants and harvest your berries if they're in a nice, neat row like this one is.
My name's Kevin Stockwell, and we're at Argenta Market in North Little Rock, and I'm the executive chef here. I was a CPA, so I ran banks, manufacturing companies. I'm from Chicago, so a couple years ago I moved down here, decided I want to do what I always wanted to do, is become a chef. Thing is, we buy local ingredients from all the local farmers. That's the key thing here. That's what people come here because they know we have the fresh produce. So we try to use that in everything that we make. Any produce that we get in the store here, locally, we use it in our own deli salads, in our grab and go, even on our sandwiches, we use like local greens. I think customers want to know where their food comes from. They just don't want, so at least they know where it came from, that it's good quality food. So anything local farmers have, we have here in the store. My name's Kevin Stockwell. Today I'll be showing you how to make blackberry jam. The ingredients are 2.5 pounds of blackberries, 1 pound of sugar, 3 tablespoons of bourbon, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So what you do is first put the blackberry jams in, then your pound of sugar, 3 tablespoons of bourbon, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And what you want to do is, cooking this, put it over medium heat. You do not want it to boil because you do not want to scorch or you get that burnt aftertaste in it. And what you want to do is use a stainless steel pot. If you use aluminum, you're going to get an aftertaste, plus 2, the aluminum particles will attach to your food. It has to do with the acidity of the blackberries, so that's why we use a stainless steel pot. Simmer this over medium heat, and what this is going to do is going to take about an hour for it to have your jam-like consistency. And while this is reducing, what you need to do, you can start is sterilizing your jars. And all you have to do is, what we're doing is sterilizing the jars. What you do is put your jars in here in hot water and put it on your burner to boil them. Once it's boiling, you can take it off the stove, and what you do is drain your jars to cool them. Drain the water out and just flip them over to let them cool. Way to test your jam to see if it's done: put a plate in the freezer, and what it'll do, take it out when it's cold, and the easy way to test it is drop a dab on the plate, and if you turn it sideways and it sticks there, that means your jam is done. And what you do is take your funnel here pour your jam in there. This recipe will yield just a little over 1.5 pints of jam. So what you can do is double it so you can get 3 pints of jam. Next thing you do is take the lid, firmly place it on there, and screw on your cap here. You do not want to twist it all the way really tight, just enough to snuggle it there. Then what you do is take this jar, put it back in your boiling water. And what that does, it seals the jar. And once you're done with that, you can take it out. And let it cool for about a half an hour, then put it in your fridge for overnight. It takes about 24 hours to get to the thickness of a jam.
I don't know about you, but I love the flavor of marmalade, orange marmalade. And when you can find these little tangerines in the grocery store, it's a great time to make some marmalade to have on hand throughout the year. And what I like about these is that they're seedless, and this recipe is so easy. It really just takes 24 of these tangerines that are seedless, and it takes 4 lemons. Now what makes this recipe easy? It has very few ingredients, and what you do with the fruits is you put them in, just quarter them or cut them in half and put them in the food processor and chop them up, so there's not a lot of time in having to cut the marmalade in just a perfect way, and it makes a beautiful end product. So let me get started on getting these cut up. Okay, this looks pretty good. You want just pieces of the tangerine and lemon to be pretty small. So what I have here is I have my citrus. Now I'm adding 10 cups of sugar. I know that sounds like a lot, but trust me, this really works. Put this in here, like that. Stir that up, and then I'm going to add some water. I'm going to add 4 cups of water. Oh yeah. Then we're going to put this on a medium heat. Get this stirred together. So far we just have the citrus, we have water, and we have sugar. And we're going to cook this for 40 minutes, and I'll set my little timer here. For 40 minutes. We'll come to a boil, and what we're doing is we're reducing the water and making the concentration of the flavors really intense. That's what makes it really good. This will also cause it to thicken, and then at the last minute we'll add some pectin, 2 packages of pectin. Now you'll find that a few seeds will float to the top even though those little tangerines are called seedless. Let me show you what you end up with. This is what the marmalade looks like finished. And what's great about this recipe is it produces about 8 to 9 pint jars. And I love it because this will last me through the entire year, and you can use this marmalade in so many different ways. Spread it on toast with butter for breakfast, yummy, or all kinds of desserts. Give it a try. You know, I just love these little tangerines. There's so much to them. You can eat them fresh, you can create marmalade, delicious desserts, and we even use them around here for decorating for the holidays. I enjoy decorating for Christmas, especially with items you typically don't think about decorating with. Last Christmas, I used a lot of brown items with a natural look to them. But this year, I felt like a little color was necessary. So I used clementines, you know, those little tangerine-like fruits. I use them in various places through the house to give off a nice, vibrant pop of color. For instance, adding a few to this centerpiece really enhances the elegance of the setting. I also use quite a few on my mantle in tall, clear vases. And in the entryway, I filled 3 large punch bowls with these little orange beauties. Orange is not a traditional color for the Christmas season, but hey, it worked out beautifully with my home decor. I want to share with you an idea that I came up with after making lots and lots of marmalade. It's a marmalade cake, and really it's about the assembly that I think is so much fun. What you want to start with are 3 yellow cakes. Now you can use a cake mix. You may have a favorite yellow cake recipe. Just use that, and what you want to do is just bake 3 of them, and you can see I've done that, and I've just shaved off the top because this one got a little tall. You want to level them off because this is a layer cake. And what I'm going to do here is start with a concoction of a French orange liqueur called Cointreau. I used 1/4 of a cup to 1 pint of the marmalade. And I just warmed it up in the microwave because I think it goes on the cake much better that way. It begins to sort of seep down in the cake itself. So what you want to do is you want to put a layer of this on first and be generous with it. Spread it evenly across the cake. And then what I do is use some mascarpone cheese. This is that lovely sweet Italian cheese. I used 2 8-ounce packs of this, and I let it rest at room temperature for several hours. It was still a little stiff and difficult to apply. So what I did was mixed it with just a little bit of honey to soften it. So you just want to apply it to the cake like this. Be generous with it because it's very good. And it's all right if it mixes in with the marmalade. Just adds to the flavor, the creativity of making this. All right, then what you want to do is take some of these almond slivers and do a layer of the almond just like this. And then to give it just a fresh taste, I love these little tangerines sliced, and I just take them and lay them across the cake. This adds such a nice freshness. All right, so there you have it, 1 layer. Then the next thing you want to do is just take your next cake, lay it on here, and repeat this practice. Now for the top of the cake, what I do is I just put on the marmalade and Cointreau. I don't use the mascarpone, and I apply the almonds. And then you can take these sliced tangerines and just do some sort of beautiful design with them around the edges. Now one other thing to think about is just take a brush, and you can brush the sides of the cake so that the cake itself, the layer cakes, don't dry out. And I tell you, I love to serve this with hot tea and whipped cream with this. It's just a great dessert any time of year. It's really light and fresh. Give it a try. Then of course, if you want to decorate this a little bit, you can take these cuties and some leaves. I like to take these just green leaves from the garden and accent the top of the cake stand. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's show. You've seen how we've taken Christmas decorations and morphed them into canned goods that then can be put on delicious recipes like this cake. I hope you'll try this cake. It's very good. Until next time, good eating and good health.